Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Welcome to Election Day 2010. It's always nice to look out and see a bunch of friends. It's especially nice today to look out and see an old friend, Ed Malone, who's going to be giving our invocation this morning. He is the senior minister at New Hope Fellowship Church. Ed, it's good to see you. After the invocation, would everyone please remain standing for our pledges?
Will you pray with me, please? Loving God, eternal Father, before our deliberations, we bow before you to give you glory and honor and praise. Hear us, O God. We live in dangerous but dynamic, awful but awesome times, and there are many challenges ahead for us. We pray you will give them, our representatives, the wisdom and the strength to turn the challenges into opportunities for the citizens of Tarrant County. Be with this court in their deliberations this day, O God. We pray in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have two announcements for you this morning as relates to the agenda. The first one is under the public hearings, which is 8A. We're going to ask that that public hearing be held for today. We're going to reschedule that particular public hearing. And second, under the administrator section, item 9A4, this concerns the interim financing for FY 2009 for HUD as relates to the 114 program. We're going to ask that we hold that, and it'll appear at the next court meeting. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of February the 23rd.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. That brings us to our monthly tradition of employee recognition. And yes, as many of y'all know, we do this each month, the first Tuesday. We'll begin by announcing or by my reading the names of the 5-year employees. If you would all please stand as we read your name, and then at the end we'll recognize you as a group. Again, looking over the names, if it sounds like it, stand up. Don't wait to be sure, unless you happen to have a list and you can read down it with me and see your name there. So beginning with our 5-year employees, the first 5 is Kelly Andrus, Sheriff Confinement. Verdell Baker, Sheriff Confinement. Sharon Braden, Sheriff Confinement. Diane Brown, Sheriff Confinement. Gary Cole, Precinct 4 Maintenance. Gary. Mark Cood, Sheriff Confinement. Ty DuPont, Auditor's Office. Angelica Flores Cisneros, District Attorney's Office. Thank you for being patient with me there. Patricia Gregory, County Clerk. Patricia. James Hollinsworth, District Attorney's Office. Jameson Holslander, Information Technology. I can tell when I get up and grin that I didn't get too close. Crystal James, Commissioner Precinct 1. Crystal, it's good to see you back. Katrina Jennings, Sheriff Confinement. Priscilla Johnson, Domestic Relations. Crystal Jones, Juvenile Services. Susanna Lee, Purchasing. Mary McAhee, Sheriff Confinement. That might also be McGeehee.
Quite possibly.
Charles, yeah, you folks laugh. Charles Miller, Sheriff Confinement. Noel Nettles, Public Health. William Oakes, Sheriff Confinement. Naomi Ruiz, Public Health. Yeah, I hear that laughing. Karen Smith, 372nd District Court. Albert Solomon, Sheriff Confinement. Edward. Jonathan Thomas, Sheriff Confinement. And Cheryl Wheeler, Medical Examiner's Office. These are our 5-year employees. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you all very much. Now for our 10-year employees. Tiffany Burks, District Attorney's Office. Catherine Calderon, Constable, Precinct 4. Damon Call, Sheriff Confinement. Joanna Fisk, Tax Office. Tammy Ingram, District Attorney's Office. Carol Joyner, District Attorney's Office. Rodney Knotts, CSCD. Douglas Ligon, Juvenile Services. I saw that grin. Was I even close?
Got the Douglas right.
Thanks. Ethreen McGuire, Sheriff Confinement. David Mora, Juvenile Services. Kelly Norcott, Public Health. Michelle Ortega, CSCD. Carrie Pascal, District Attorney's Office. Susan Pritchett, Historical Commission. Susan. Michael Rayfield, Fire Marshal. Louise Sanders, Domestic Relations. Beretta Smith, Juvenile Services. Jerry Stewart, District Attorney's Office. Jackson Wilcox, Sheriff Courts. And Canetto Williams, County Clerk. These are our 10-year employees. Now for our 15-year employees. Vicki Bonner, Information Technology. Joni Bryant, Sheriff Confinement. Ronald Cook, Sheriff Confinement. Cecilia Illing, Sheriff Confinement. Abigail Garcia, District Attorney's Office. Tracy Ridge, Auditor's Office. Dora Rodriguez, Sheriff Confinement. And then Judge Wayne Salvant, I don't think he was able to attend, but he's with CDC number 2. And these are our 15-year employees. Now for our 20-plus years, we spend a little bit of time talking with them. Our first 20-year employee is Tim Bedars with the District Attorney's Office. Brought his own fan club there with him, I see. He started in the DA's office in the misdemeanor area, where I guess most of the what they call the baby attorneys start off at that point in time. He's been with us for 20 years now. Then he moved over into the felony area, and now is the chief out in the juvenile area. When I asked him about his more memorable days, he talked about his very first day on the job and how things had changed. He said, I remember that when he first came on board I guess y'all were actually housed in the building kind of behind the criminal courts over there behind the parking garage. And he said, I remember them swearing me in, giving me the code of criminal justice, and then telling them to take him out back. And he was a little nervous about that. But there was really an old rundown building that was behind the jail at the time. You know, he didn't have, it was kind of like he remembers walking in the building and it just kind of being total chaos. He didn't have a phone, he didn't have a desk. And so it was, you know, they kind of shared things. And so he said nowadays, with everything being done on the computer and via the internet, and that when you go to court, I mean, you've got your laptops and everything, he says it's been a little bit of a change. When I asked him what he liked most, again, it was the camaraderie, and really the pleasure of doing his job. And in folks I've talked with in the DA's office and with other folks, it's being one of the good guys, because they're really there trying to put the criminals away. And I think the thing about this DA's office that I have always had such great respect for, as aggressive as they are about trying to put the bad guys away, they also want to make sure they get it right and that they don't put the wrong person away. So we appreciate very much that. When I asked him if there was anything else, he said he was just thankful for having gotten a job and had an opportunity to work at Tarrant County with Tim and now with Joe. And it's great, you know, he said over the years there's been a lot of folks who have been mentors to me and who've helped me and who have, you know, worked with me and helped train me. And he said, I just hope that as I have spent the latter part of these 20 years, that I have been the same kind of a mentor to other folks. And I'm sure, Tim, that you have been that, and we thank you very much for the 20 years you've given. Next is Rick Floyd with the Sheriff's Department, courts area. Rick, stand up. Rick started out in the jail, was there for about 13 and a half years, and then moved into the courts area, and is now working for Judge King in Judge King's court. When I asked him about his more memorable moments, he said, you know, when I first came to work here and went into the jail, I wasn't really sure about that. You know, he said, these pretty bad, some pretty bad folks. And he said, I remember one day I'm sitting working the floor, and two of the biggest prisoners he's ever seen decided to get face to face with one another. And he's sitting there saying, okay, I got to get in the middle of this. And he said, to say I was anxious about it would have been an understatement, but he said, I knew I had to get in there. So he said, I stepped in, and the more I worked through the situation, the more I realized that neither one of those folks really wanted to get in it with the other folks, and they were real glad that I stepped in the middle of it. But he said, I'll guarantee you that up until the point I began to realize that, I was pretty nervous about what was fixing to happen. When I asked him what he liked most, he said it was the chance to work with some wonderful people. And then he added, who loved helping other people. And again, I think that's what we hear so often, and what really separates folks who I feel like work for Tarrant County and may have an opportunity to work other places. He said the county has given him a lot of opportunities. Rick I found this kind of unique. Rick found his true love. They started out living, I guess, and I think you said they started out living in Grand Prairie and kept moving east, and he actually lives in Garland. And but that's not it. That's not every day he takes the train. He catches the train, takes it to Union Station, comes on over from Union Station. So one of the things he likes most is the train pass that Tarrant County has worked and has helped. And so, as we sit here in this whole deal and look for opportunities and talk about transit and talk about here's an employee who is using that every day. He said, I have read books. He said, I've had a chance to do things. And he said, the train's it's a reliable source of transportation. And I think it speaks very highly, and I'm very glad to hear that working. He loves photography. He said he started out as a hobby, and he really loves it. And as he's done more and more of it, it's becoming more and more of a passion, and not maybe just a hobby from that standpoint. He said he grew up in Fort Worth, has a lot of friends here, but he and his wife just have kind of, in looking for homes and finding a place, they just found a place in Garland they fell in love with, and that's where he lives, and so that's why he travels back and forth every day. And Rick, we appreciate your persistence in traveling back and forth every day, and we appreciate the 20 years you've given us. Next is Rosemary Garza, Precinct 5. There she is. Started off in the elections department as part-time and then went full-time with the county clerk in the marriage license area. From there she went into, I guess you were in the WIC area with the public health, and then started with Judge Valdez in July of '91 and is his court manager now. When I asked her about her more memorable moment, she said the first day she came to work for the county, it was snowing. And that at that time, she came into the courthouse, the old courthouse, but she was working in elections, and so she had to basically truck down to the old Mueller building, which is where elections was at that time. And she was sent down there to talk with the person about, I guess, who you were going to go to work with. And she said, I remember the conversation. We were sitting there talking. She says, well, when do you want to go to work? And Rosemary said, right now. And so right there, she started work exactly at that point in time and went to work. She said the other memorable time was her time in working for Judge Valdez. And when I asked her what she liked most, she said it was really the opportunity and the co-workers that she's had a chance to work with in the judge's office. The experience of working with the county and the people she's had a chance to help. She said, I've really had a chance to grow up as I've worked with the county government, and it's really been an exciting and a nice time. And so, Rosemary, we appreciate very much the time you've spent with Tarrant County. Thank you very much. Next is Mary Johnson, Sheriff's Courts. I wasn't sure she was going to be able to be here. She started out in the jail, in the property area, then went to security control, and I believe that's where she's at now. Our next individual also couldn't attend today, and that was Gregory Richards, who is in the auditor's office. And then our final employee today is Michael Stefko with the county clerk, 25 years. Where's Michael? There he is. Welcome, sir. When Michael started off in the clerk's office, he was writing in the books and stamping the pages where you basically had to indicate what volume and where everything was. And he said now he's in the index area and the documents, documenting the various documents, but it's now on the computer. So he has seen that complete transition from writing in the books to now indexing with the computers. When I asked him about the more memorable moments, as many people in the county clerks who's been in that old courthouse for a number of years, it was the shootings that occurred both on the fourth floor as well as in the JP's office. And I take it that JP's office, it was just right across the hall from where you were, so that probably was a little bit more memorable than maybe the one there on the fourth floor. When I asked him what he liked most, he said, quite honestly, it's working inside. This was one of the cold days here when I was talking with him. Working inside out of the weather. And then the other thing was helping people as they tried to sort through the records and find things. And so again, indexing and working through all of that. He said he never really thought that he would be here, this long for 25 years, but that it had gone by very rapidly and that he really enjoyed the time that he'd spent with the county. Michael, we want to thank you for the 25 years you've given us. This was rather a light month. Usually there's many more than that, and so this was kind of a light one. We still have refreshments back here in 504C. So at this time, we'll kind of pause for a moment and give you all an opportunity to head back that way. And again,
W-I-N-L-O-W?
No, W-I-N-S-L-O-W. W-I-N-S-L-O-W.
Okay, we have a couple of proclamations. I believe they're for ratification. The first one we did talk about last week. That's where the Tarrant County Junior Livestock renamed their Distinguished Service Award in honor of Commissioner Johnson.
Move
And I will,
ratification.
okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And
Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
And I move ratification of item C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We now have before you the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have 3 additional items for you this morning. Under the Administrator's Section, Item 1, we're requesting that the Court approve a professional service agreement between Tarrant County and the Hospital District for services related to the employment of a Correctional Health Director.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, on item number 2, we're requesting that the Commissioners' Court consider and approve exceptions to the county's travel policy as it relates to overnight lodging for Constable's Office Precincts 1, 2, 5, and 7.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the Court approve an exception to the county's travel policy and approve travel reimbursement for juvenile services.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Tidwell? Good morning.
Good morning. This morning, we're requesting that the Commissioners' Court receive and file the 2010 fiscal year Tarrant County financial statements for the months ended October, November, and December. We're getting caught up. We have our first draft of the audited CAFR financial statements to KPMG and are working on their minor tweaks. So that the audit's about done, and we'll hopefully be caught up on a month-to-month basis. The financial statements don't reflect anything of negative. The county's financial position remains as we expected, and we seem to be on target for where we thought we'd be. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our last item is requesting the court to approve the release of approximately $200,336,000 of collateral as outlined in the attachment to the court communication.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion
Thank you.
passes unanimously. Thank you, Renee. Phillips.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve the construction management contract with Gilbane Building Company for the construction management services related to the construction of the new maximum security jail building and the Correction Center fire alarm security system replacement projects.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
It is requested that Commissioners Court accept a security bond from Gilbane Building Company for the construction of the new jail building and the Correction Center fire alarm and security replacement project.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And it is requested that Commissioners Court approve Amendment Number 1 to the construction management contract with Thomas S. Byrne for the guaranteed maximum price to construct the medical examiner's office expansion project included in the 2006 capital improvement program.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Good morning. I understand somebody's celebrating birthday this week,
Yes, I am.
and that as of this birthday, she will have spent half of her life
Oh, my goodness.
with
Tarrant County.
Tarrant County. We've been blessed.
It's a good
Thank you
half,
very
right?
much.
She's
Thank
been
you.
here 30 years now.
I got a feeling your paycheck is going to vanish. You're going to end up in one of those SAP black holes, never to be seen again.
Maybe, maybe. Thank you, thank you.
Funny how those happen.
Even better, even better. Okay, our first item is to request that you receive and file the personnel agenda.
Move approval. I'm going to torture you a little bit.
I
there.
guess so.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our second item is to request that the Commissioners Court approve the attached group dental service agreement with United Dental Care of Texas, Inc., and administered by Assurant Employee Benefits effective January 1st. You might remember in September that you approved plan choices and our service provider changes. Our dental plans are fully funded by the employee and retiree premiums, and this agreement has been reviewed by PEBC Legal Counsel, and it is for 12 months, which includes automatic renewals on the anniversary dates. Be glad to answer any questions. Maybe.
Move approval. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you again for your service, Robin. We appreciate you very much. Purchasing, come on down. Beecham, what are you doing? You just getting old? You can't make it all the way down here anymore?
Unless it has a physical impact, I don't want to talk about it.
Watch out. Be careful.
Well, these do have fiscal impacts, Your Honor. We have one item for your consideration this morning. We're asking for approval of exemption for competitive bidding for the purchase of drug reagents and control chemicals for the Public Health Department to the companies and the items listed on your court communique. Also attached to the court communique is a letter from the Health Department requesting this exemption, and this does fall under discretionary exemptions that can be approved by the Commissioner's Court.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Did you get that tie from Beecham?
No, sir. No, sir.
Come on down, Mr. Skinner. You look like you were anxious, and I don't see. I thought Miss Lamb was here. Did she run off too?
She did.
No, there she is. She's hiding back here. People from Arkansas kind of hiding today, I guess.
Yeah, what's the deal?
Members of the court, we are requesting your approval of a local project advance funding agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation related to improvements to the US 287 frontage roads and related bridge structures in Mansfield. This agreement actually covers 3 projects that are identified separately in our bond program. They include the extension of frontage roads along US 287 from Walnut Creek to East Broad Street, 2 Texas U-turns at Walnut Creek Bridge, Walnut Creek over US 287, and 1 Texas U-turn at East Broad Street over US 287. TxDOT views this as one project, and with your approval today of this agreement, we'll update our records to reflect the same.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Any appointments today? There being none, then we'll move on to our claims, including the addendum.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius, would you like for us to vote on that again?
No, one time is sufficient, sir.
Okay, just want to be sure.
Just want to make sure.
Briefing items.
Your Honor, members of the court, we do not have any briefing items for you this morning.
He follows orders well, doesn't he?
He does pretty good on that thing. Then we will resource and recess our court meeting now from open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
I carry extras in my BlackBerry.
May return from closed session will now hear the following matter.
Thank you, Your Honor. Under item D1, we're requesting authorization for the county judge to sign a proposal with Fanning and Associates for the expenditure of not more than $2,000 in litigation expense, with this amount to come from probably right away.
Be right away, yes.
This amount to come from right away without the, well, we'll just do it the normal way, I suppose. Okay.
Move for approval the normal way.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, with regard to the second item, we're requesting authorization for the county judge to sign a settlement agreement and accept a check that we will get after we send the agreement to them in the amount of $5,000 in settlement of our claim against the owner of the vehicle.
Move approval.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. There being no further business, we're adjourned.